When you think of South African actors in Hollywood, you might picture Charlize Theron or Thuso. But ask anyone in the industry who commands the deepest respect, and one name rises above them all: John Carney. John has been working in Hollywood for over 4 decades, but unlike the new generation actors, he's not known for paparazzi, but rather for the dedication to his craft.
If I step on set of Captain America,
Yes.
Civil War, the director and the producer comes down and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have this great South African actor, Dr. John Carney. This is the director, that's lighting, that's the... If you're not me, you just go straight to your trailer and get ready for the next scene."
Just like that.
And these are not the only privileges John Carney enjoys in Hollywood. He's also part of an agency that represents huge superstars like Denzel Washington and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, just to name a few. With that kind of representation, John is able to negotiate his royalties and challenge the direction of the script if he feels like the directors are doing something wrong. Like in the production of Black Panther, when he advised the producers to use isiXhosa as an official language of Wakanda.
T'Challa. Amatamsanqua Nensikalelo.
It was close. It was close.
Don't laugh, I practiced that.
Jabulela. Jabulela.
Number two, I introduced isiXhosa as the indigenous language of Wakanda, because I was not prepared to do Tarzan language. So I said, I'm not going to do this. There's a language I can speak. So Marvel agreed.
How does that conversation even happen?
Yeah. Because I don't care if I walk off set. I got money already before I walked on set.
John Carney has dedicated his life to the craft of acting and creativity expression. Long before the movie Sarafina, there was an assassination attempt on his life after he did a play which exposed the brutality and horrors of apartheid. And this is where most people would say, okay, I've tried, I've nearly got killed, now let me do something else with my life or take safer acting roles. But no, not John Carney. He continued acting and provoking the government with his acting and productions. Now, in order to understand the whole story of how John Carney went from being a struggling actor in New Brighton to getting massive respect in Hollywood, we have to go back a little bit and understand his come up. This is the story of how a theater actor from Gqeberha became the most respected South African actor in Hollywood. Now, let's stop beating around the bush and let's get started with this video.
John Carney is a legend in South Africa, and while he has taken roles in Hollywood movies, his theater work is known for exploring how the brutality of apartheid affected everyday people.
Bonisile John Carney was born in New Brighton, a township in Gqeberha. During his upbringing, his father wanted him to become a lawyer, but John was not interested in law. Instead, he started attending drama classes at school. He then finished his matric at Newell High School, and then he worked at Ford assembling cars. But he later left that job and went to acting full-time in the 1960s.
You know, so we do the same job. It's an assembly line. Nivo, who is white, will get about, let's say, 750 rand a week. And then the colored guy will get about 150 rand a week. I'm on 22 rand a week. That's structured by the law. I can't earn more than a colored. I can't earn more than a white. So when I went in the 60s and 70s into acting, it became like a revolutionary. Yeah, because suddenly now I can earn what I want to earn. And I would be paid what I am negotiating. I did, though, believe that at a certain stage, my salary as an actor became the most kept secret, because some of the white actors would not be happy knowing that I'm earning more than them.
Together with his high school friend, Winston Jonah, John joined various drama groups in New Brighton area, performing in schools and community halls. And then in 1965, he became a member of the Serpent Players drama group. It was here where he met this guy, Ethel Fugard. This was the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship. Now, bear in mind, all of this was happening during the apartheid, where black and white people were not allowed to mix, but these guys carried on with their friendship. They did a lot of experimental stuff. They also did some other stuff that was unpublished. In 1972, John Fugard and Winston Joyner collaborated and did a play called Sizwe Banzi is Dead. This was followed by The Island in 1973. Sizwe Banzi is Dead was inspired by the apartheid regime pass laws, while The Island was inspired by a true story and is set in an unnamed prison. Both plays were performed in South Africa and internationally. These two plays were the official breakthrough for John Kani and Winston Joyner. They gained so much success that they won a Tony Award for Best Acting Plays in the United States.
How does a local actor or actress evolve their career to global status?
You got to work hard, very hard, where you are. If someone somewhere had seen your work here in South Africa, would say in that meeting, I was in South Africa for holiday and I saw a play at the Market Theatre. There's an actor there, he impressed me. What's the name? Check it. John Kani. And then says, find him. And agents find you. And then it's that first breakthrough. And when you make that one breakthrough, which we did in 1973, and we said, this is it. We're going to nurture this. We're going to look after this. We're going to make this grow. And it opened up the world to us. 1975, the Tony Award for Best Actor on Broadway. No one has ever won that award who was not American. It's just me and Winston and Zakes Mukai later. No other person. It's an American exclusive.
These plays were a huge hit in the US. In New York, they ran for 52 performances at the Edison Theater on Broadway. The success of these plays, plus winning a Tony Award, made John Kani a superstar. His agent dropped him and he got an American representation, William Morris Agency, which I will talk about more later in the video. This meant that John Kani was officially an elite in Hollywood. Even if he appeared for 10 seconds in a movie, his name would be written alongside starring actors. In 76, he went to Australia promoting his plays. Then he returned to South Africa after touring overseas. He began to tour rural areas of South Africa and conducted drama groups wherever he performed. While most actors go to Hollywood, become successful, and perform in urban area theaters, John Kani was still humble enough to go around rural South Africa and empower the youth. Around this time, John Kani was doing well for himself. He starred in multiple plays and successful movies, but there was a huge threat to his life: the South African police. During the height of apartheid, Kani was part of a generation of artists who dared to use the theater as a weapon. His plays didn't just entertain, they exposed the cruelty of the apartheid regime. They gave voice to the voiceless, and this made him a target. The security police watched him closely. Every performance was a risk. Every standing ovation was a red flag. For the apartheid government, art was dangerous when it told the truth. And then, in 1975, the confrontation turned physically. After performing Sizwe Banzi is Dead, Kani was ambushed by the South African police. They beat him savagely. It wasn't just a random act of violence, it was a clear message: stop speaking, stop performing, or suffer the consequences. That night, John lost his left eye, which is why most of the time when you see him, he's always wearing shades. It's a shocking detail, but it also became a defining part of his identity. He never hid it, he never tried to cover it up. Instead, he wore it like a badge of honor, a reminder of the cost of truth under oppression. Throughout the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, John kept on working on local and Hollywood production. As the years went by, his catalog grew bigger and bigger, and so does the level of respect and chip on his shoulder. Between the 1970s and the late 90s, John appeared in more than 30 productions when you exclude his theater plays, but one of the most iconic production he did is Nothing But the Truth. These days, when we talk about John Kani, we often mention his legendary performances, his Hollywood fame, and his resilience under the apartheid regime. But people tend to forget about his pen game. You see, in 2002, John wrote Nothing But the Truth, a playbook that struck the heart of South Africa's unfinished business, reconciliation. At the time, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, had just wrapped up. The TRC was meant to heal a broken nation, to give victims a chance to speak and perpetrators a chance to confess. On paper, it was history in the making, but on the ground, the wounds were still raw. Kanye saw this, and instead of a political rally or an angry speech, he chose the stage. He wrote the story of Nothing But the Truth, which is technically simple but with a lot of twists. So here's the synopsis of the story. Sipho Makaya, a librarian in New Brighton, Gqeberha, is grieving the death of his brother, Themba, but behind the mourning lies decades of resentment, jealousy, and questions about loyalty during the struggle. Sipho stayed in South Africa during apartheid, enduring daily humiliation, police harassment, and personal sacrifice. Themba, on the other hand, left for exile, gaining international recognition as a hero. Through Sipho's bitterness, Kanye asked a painful question: who sacrificed more, the ones who stayed and suffered, or the ones who left and fought from afar? And this is where the brilliance lies of the story. Nothing But the Truth is not just a family drama, it's a metaphor for South Africa itself. The exiled versus the rooted, the celebrated versus the forgotten, the truth versus the version of the truth we choose to remember. Audiences across the world were amazed. The play didn't just entertain, it forced a reflection. It made people uncomfortable because reconciliation is not just about shaking hands and moving on. It's about facing what was lost, what was stolen, or what was never acknowledged. John Kani later turned this play into a film, extending its reach far beyond theater walls. So far, the movie version has won multiple awards, while the book version is taught in many South African schools. In the end, Nothing But the Truth is more than a play. It was a conversation, a reminder that South African wounds were not magically healed in 1994. John Kani's journey to becoming the most respected South African actor in Hollywood didn't begin on a glamorous film set. It began on stage during apartheid, when theater was one of the few weapons artists had against the apartheid system. Plays like Sizwe Banzi is Dead and The Island were not just entertainment, they were political statements. They exposed the brutality of apartheid to the world, and for that, John paid a heavy price, a brutal beating by the police that cost him his left eye. That sacrifice gave him a kind of moral authority. He was not just acting, he was living the truth he portrayed. But here's where John Kani separates himself away from many South African actors. When he broke into Hollywood, he didn't go in blind. He signed with William Morris, one of the most powerful talent agencies in the world. This was not just paperwork, it was leverage. It meant better roles, stronger negotiation power, and most importantly, royalties. Here's the harsh reality in South Africa. Many actors in this country, even the celebrated ones, don't see long-term income from their work. Once the show ends, so does the paycheck. But John Kani, through his agency, tapped into Hollywood systems where royalties and residuals keep flowing. Every time a film is streamed, aired, or distributed, his performances in Black Panther, Captain America, The Lion King are not just milestones, they're assets. They continue to pay him year after year. That financial security gives him freedom to choose projects, to create his own work like Nothing But the Truth, and invest in South African theater without worrying about survival. That's another reason he's respected. He represents what South African talent could achieve if given proper infrastructure and proper backing. Think about his influence in Black Panther. John didn't just act, he convinced Marvel to let him speak isiXhosa, his mother tongue, on screen. That decision made Wakanda feel authentically African and introduced millions of viewers to South African culture. Very few actors have that kind of pull. So, why is John Kani the most respected South African actor in Hollywood? Well, it's a combination. His history of struggle, his international contributions, his cultural authenticity, and his ability to play the Hollywood game at the highest level. For South Africans, he's a symbol of what's possible. For Hollywood, he's proof that talent, when nurtured and protected, can outlast systems of oppression and still thrive on the biggest stages. And maybe that's John Kani's greatest legacy. He didn't just survive apartheid, he mastered Hollywood. And in doing so, he set a standard that South African actors are still chasing today.